Texas Math Mundo audience, are we in store for a treat today? In the house is Mr. Samuel Armstrong. He is a professional software engineer. He has a long history in UIL Computer Science. He is a UIL Computer Science test writer and also serves as a contest director. He has very, very great insight into the UIL Computer Science test and program with some very, very interesting comments and insight for this year's test. Let me take a quick moment and ask that if you enjoy this content, that you please hit the subscription button, leave a comment below, and smash that like button. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Please help me spread this joy and beauty to as many people as possible. Mr. Samuel Armstrong, UIL Computer Science test writer, UIL Computer Science contest director, right ahead. My name is Logan Johnson, and this is Texas Math Mundo. Texas Math Mundo audience, are we in store for a treat today? In the house is Mr. Samuel Armstrong. Our guest is a software engineer with a long history working with the UIL Computer Science contest. He is currently a UIL Computer Science test writer. He also serves as a contest director. He is the son of a legendary coach, Stacy Armstrong of Cypress Woods High School. He has extensive experience in the computer science world. It is my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Samuel Armstrong, software engineer. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, great. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. How are you?
Hey, working hard. School teachers work hard. You know that.
Yes, I do.
Being the son of a school teacher.
Yeah, two of them actually.
Hey, what's keeping you busy nowadays?
Well, I'm working at a company called Sabre. You probably haven't heard of them because I didn't before I applied, but I work there now. And I unfortunately made myself very important recently, so I've had a lot of work to do. Yeah, they've been keeping me busy. Everybody needs me all the time.
Software engineering?
Yes, yeah, lots of writing some code, more debugging than anything, honestly, but a lot of working with some code, yeah.
What language?
Well, that's what gets a little tricky. It's called APL, but it's not the actual APL. It's just Java with a couple extra steps. Because I'm working in an SAP framework called Convergent Mediation.
Okay, cool. Look,
there's a whole lot of buzzwords, but yeah.
Do you have time for some fun? How are you having fun?
Yeah. So I'm pretty tall, so I play a lot of basketball, and my whole family did growing up. So I try to do that whenever I can. And I recently picked up the cello again. I was playing the cello in early high school, and my parents still had my old one, so I grabbed it and I started teaching myself how to play again. I also like to cook, but I don't think that counts as fun as much because I have to do that, to eat. But yeah.
Hey, that counts as fun in my books. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the cello and basketball, that's a good combination, man. That's great. Well-rounded. All right, let's talk about your role as a UIL contest director and test writer. Can you explain the test writing experience? What is involved in that creative process?
Yeah, well, it's as you know, we got the written test portion, which is the 40-question multiple choice section, and then the programming packet, which is 12 problems that you get 3 hours to solve in teams, right? And up until this point, most of my efforts have been focused on the programming. There's a committee of 4 of us, and we split up the packet. Everybody writes 3 or 4 problems, and then we solve everybody's problems and poke a bunch of holes in it. That's where I've been mostly. That's most of my time. We have one of the guys who's been focused on the written, and we're looking to split that up a little more this year. Just get some new eyes on it, get some new stuff. But creatively, honestly, with the written, there's not much to it. It's the questions are pretty much the same every time, so it's just change it a little bit and hope you trip some people up. The programming's a lot more fun. I kind of it does tend to be some stuff I've seen before, but I try to throw in something crazy every packet just to see what I can come up with. I get to kind of mess around a little bit with that. I have fun with those.
All right. Hey, so how long is the programming part?
The programming part, you get 2 hours with a team of 3, and the written is 45 minutes for 40 questions.
Okay. So in the programming part, they solve a problem, they download the Java file, go get it compiled. Does it have to be exactly correct to get full credit?
So that one, it's all of the data in it has to be completely correct, and occasionally on a problem though, we'll turn off the white space. So if you got some extra lines, some extra space, like if we're doing like it's a math-based problem, I don't care if you have extra spaces. That doesn't matter to me. But if it's one of the big, like you print out this giant square with a certain amount of spaces, the spaces actually do matter, and we'll leave that on. Typically, if you have a little extra bug at the end with like a space or a line or something, that's not going to mess you up. But yeah, it pretty much has to be exact. And you're not going to have the same data. We're going to give you a couple cases to test, but then we're going to write some really gnarly ones on our end that you don't ever get to see to try to trick you as much with all the edge cases and everything.
Oh, wow. And are you reading a lot of data files?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Awesome stuff. You're also a contest director. What does a contest director do?
Well, the contest directing is kind of wrapped up in the fact that we're writing the packet. So we write the packet for every contest. Invitational A, there's 2 invitationals, A and B, and then district, region, and state. And we're writing all the packets and tests for all of that. And then at state, we're actually on site in the room next door usually, and we judge all the problems. So usually at an average contest, they're going to have a auto judger check everything. But at state, because there's like 5 or 6 of us sitting in that room, we're manually checking every case. And if we start getting a lot of wrong submissions, for example, like we had one of these at state last year, we'll go in and check our data, and if we're wrong, we'll kick all the points back, which is something we had to do. And we have to do that a couple times. If we're getting a weird issue, we got to run in and check our data, make sure we're right, check our solutions. If we're getting, especially, we do that if we get a lot of the same wrong submissions. Like if 3 in a row are wrong the same way, something fishy is usually going on. It's usually our fault, so we're going to go look. We also have to respond to clarifications in contest, which is we forgot to answer a question in a problem description, or some kid has a ridiculous question we didn't think about, and we have to answer that too. So that's usually what we're doing.
It sounds stressful because it can be complicated, man. These little scenarios, unforeseen scenarios, can be complicated and stressful.
Yeah, we had 3 of us sitting around a whiteboard for like 20 minutes drawing trees last year because I got like a +1 in the wrong place or something. It threw off the whole thing.
Oh my god. Talking about state meet last year, I hold a live stream. There was a lot of commentary about the state meet computer science last year. What happened?
Well, I think on the packet, which again, that's where there's more of us, a lot of eyes on that. I think we did pretty good. We'd still like to make it harder, but I don't think anyone got all the problems. I think we maxed out at 10 or 11, which is that's pretty good in my eyes. I think that's about what we're looking for. On the written, we had like a huge way tie, specifically 6A. There was like a 7-way tie or something for like first with perfect scores. And ideally that doesn't happen. So that's why this year we're going to break it down, try to split up the written a little more, try to make it as hard as we can. Because last year it was one guy was writing that and working on the packet, and that's a lot of work for one guy. So we're going to split it up, get some other people in there writing some new stuff, see if we can make it a little harder for everybody.
Okay, so I was going to ask, what should this year's competitors expect to see on the computer science contest? Harder?
Yes, across the board, at least in my eyes, I want to make it harder. Even a team getting 11, I was hoping that wouldn't happen because I wrote a couple problems specifically that I don't think anybody got mine at state, but there was another one that got solved that I don't think anybody. We didn't want anybody to solve that one either. So we're aiming. We wanted a 10 or 11, and we had a couple at 10 and one at 11. That's a little too good for us, so we're gonna try to make the packet a little harder, and then the written is definitely gonna get harder. We're gonna try specifically to try to get a little more off in the weeds with some obscure Java topics. We had a lot of math in there this year, and there's a whole lot of overlap between competitive math kids and the competitive computer science kids lately. And so that's kind of a lot of the kids, this is easy for them because this is hard math for somebody who's not doing that kind of math. But if you're doing that, that's nothing. So we got to throw some crazy stuff at them. So that's what I'm trying to do this year.
It seems to me that computer science is like a moving target. Like, for example, a language like Python seems to have gotten a lot of traction lately. What is the future of UIL Computer Science?
Well, in that vein, I don't know how much leeway we're going to have with languages because I think we're pretty set in Java, at least for now. But I would like at least some of the topics we're touching on to get into something a little more useful, I guess. I don't know. Specifically the written test, a lot of that stuff, even like you go back 10 years, a lot, that's not super useful. I'm not sure how much we can do there. But in the packet, specifically, I'd like to get it closer to like what you're going to see in like a technical interview for like an internship or something in college. If we can get it closer to that, I think that'd be really helpful. Because you see a lot of companies and like colleges doing a lot more work with that, with technical interviews, and it looks a lot like UIL problems, kind of. And I'm trying to see if we can push us a little more in that direction.
It must be a fine balance to hold, but you got a bunch of super smart kids doing computer science, and then you got these newbies who are trying to get their foot in the door, and you don't want to intimidate them too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that's why I think the fact that we have 5 different contests helps a bit. It definitely, we try to make it harder as we go. Like, because you're not going to have any of those newbies at state anyways, so we don't have to, there's no easing it in there. All of those are, we're trying to hurt you with that one. That one's nasty. But with some of the invitationals, we do tend to make them a little on the easier side. Like, we'll have 5 or 6 teams get all 12 with time to spare, specifically in the 6A group, and that's fine at those earlier contests. Those are more for people who are trying to get into it, trying to learn some computer science, aren't super experienced yet, just to get a feel for it. And that's it. But it is a tough balance to strike, because especially we have 1A through 6A all in one room. That's a huge range in like knowledge and just like resources they have at their disposal. So like it's very difficult to make it a good packet for everybody, but we do try our best.
Oh, I bet it's a difficult task, man. So I applaud your efforts. But you're the guy, because you have a long personal UIL journey. You competed for the Cywoods team and were at the state meet yourself. Can you describe your experience as a UIL competitor in high school?
Yes, yeah. So I started. I got my dad to thank for this, because he is the UIL Computer Science coach. So since I could walk, he's had me writing code. But then I got to high school, and I want to explain a little bit here. There's a lot of meets that aren't UIL sponsored. So like certain high schools will put on a meet and they'll just invite a bunch of teams they know. And so we'll go to like 7 of those a year. And like as our school, because we'll have 10, 11 teams, because we got a huge program at Cywoods. And so I joined and I get indoctrinated into that. And that's great, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. There's 2 divisions, usually a novice and advanced. So the newbies aren't competing against the people who've been doing this for 4 years. So I can get in there and win some stuff as a freshman who doesn't know anything, because I'm not competing with the guy who's building servers in his free time. And that's pretty cool. But yeah, I started off doing that, and I kept doing, I was competing for the UIL spot. Like I said, there's a lot of people at Cywoods. So there's a lot of competition for that top team, because it's only 3 people, 4 who take the written, but really 3 people doing the actual contest. And so I didn't make it till my junior year. And my junior and senior year, I was on the team. We went to state. We got 3rd and 2nd place, I believe. But I also, in terms of UIL, there's an event that just got discontinued, actually, called Computer Applications.
Yes.
And I went to state my sophomore year and got 5th for that. And then I won my senior year.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, like computer apps was so hard, though. It's hard to grade. You had to produce a document. You had to, at one time, you had to bring your own printer. You had to bring your own computer stuff.
Yeah. It was basically just competitive Microsoft Office, which sounds kind of dumb, but that's like the most useful thing I have now that I have a job. I'm using Excel all the time, so I actually learned a lot from that.
So is it a tragedy that got discontinued?
I mean, for me, yes, but I don't think for anybody else, and definitely not the coaches who had to sit in there for 4 hours and grade it, that they're definitely happy they don't have to do that anymore. But
as an academic coordinator, it was a headache for me, because I had to make sure I had somebody who could grade it. I had to make sure I brought the printer sometimes. I had to make sure it was, but you know, some good stuff that after you say is very useful, and it is useful. So wow. Hey, who were your inspirations? I know your dad.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The cop-out answer is both my parents. Like we've talked about my dad a little bit, but he's the computer science teacher at Cywoods. So yeah, he's coached a ton of kids throughout the years. He's got like 5 state championships at this point. In terms of UIL computer science, that's what I'm looking up to, and in life to him and my mom. My mom's a Spanish teacher at a middle school, so I grew up with 2 teachers in the house. But outside of the cop-out answers, those guys, I really look up to my grandpa a lot. He's like the toughest guy I've ever met in my life. Honestly, those three are kind of the big triangle of people I've been looking up to my whole life. So yeah.
Awesome. Hey, what do you remember most about your UIL journey? What was most memorable?
Definitely just because we would do a lot of contests. We'd go to 7 or 8 a year before we even got to the UIL contest. And we'd get up, you'd be up early on a Saturday, you'd grab some donuts and drive out to the middle of nowhere and just destroy a contest and take home half the medals. And I remember a lot of that. Like, we'd have some contests where we'd leave 2 awards for anybody else, and we'd just take everything. Because we'd show up with like 60 kids. So it's kind of hard to compete with. Then some of that was fun, just going into those events with like a mob of people, and we're all trying to compete, and it's a big fun competition. That's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that.
Hey, I'm very much immersed in that world. I love it. I love the competition. It really excites the kids. And there's no substitute for going to a tournament in person and competing.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Hey, who are the major players? I know Fort Bend Clements, Katy Seven Lakes, Cy Woods.
That's been in a little bit of flux lately. I remember last year Allen was a huge player. I don't know anything about them really. But for the last 2 years they destroyed us it's 2024 this year, it's 2023, and then this year they came in second. They're pretty good. Richardson Plano, or Richardson used to be good. I haven't seen them in a bit, but that doesn't mean anything. Plano West is pretty good. Cy Woods, obviously. Clements used to be pretty good. Again, I haven't checked in with them in a while. I'm not sure, but probably. There's a lot of high school. It's a lot of flux. There's only a couple that stick around because it's not easy to do.
No. So, why did you return? What caused you to return after that journey?
Well, part of it was when we got second and third place, my junior and senior year, it left a bad taste in my mouth, and I wanted to be involved and make sure that we were doing the best we could for the kids competing. Because one of the years we had some issues with a messed up problem, and that's not why we lost, but in my mind that was why we lost. And so I've been very bitter about that for a while. But I wanted to make sure when kids are having issues with these problems and they're trying to solve problems, there's somebody on the other side of the table who's done this before and been in their shoes. So they're not going up against a brick wall. Like, I've done this competition forever. I've been around this. So I know exactly what these kids are going through. I know what they're asking. And I wanted to make sure they're getting the best they can. And I'm pretty good at this. So I figured, why not throw my hat in the ring?
Hey, and the UIL Computer Science world is all the better for it. Let me tell you, in my Texas Math Mundo community, there was an outcry to cover more computer science. So I'm doing it. Now I'm teaching computer science for the first time, so I'm definitely into it. You know, your professional and educational journey, you went into software engineering. What does that job market look like? And should a kid be encouraged to pursue software engineering?
Well, up until pretty recently, it's been fantastic.
Okay.
Right now, it's a little rough. It took me a couple months out of college to find a job. Part of that was my resume was terrible, but even after I got that fixed, it's just there's a lot of software engineers. There's a whole lot of us. That doesn't mean if you're a really good one, you're going to be fine, obviously, but it's not the free ticket to a 6-figure job that it used to be. It's you got to do some work. There's the interviews have gotten a lot more complicated, and it's just the market's a lot more saturated than it used to be, and people are finding that it doesn't take quite as many people as they thought to do some of these things. So there's just not as many jobs to go around as there was 4 or 5 years ago. I still would not tell anyone not to go into software engineering. I still think it's a great place to be, but it's not just walk out of college and get a job. Like when I was in high school, that's what they were telling me. There people were like, there are people throwing money at me right now, and it's not that easy anymore.
Really, but also considering the skill set, is that a vital part or component of a student's overall skill set as they enter the job market? You think?
See, that's where it gets tricky because it's such a broad thing. Like, I'm doing stuff now that I never learned about at all in college or high school, and they taught me on the job. Like, the only part of it that I brought from college was SQL. I'm working with a lot of databases, but like some of this SAP convergent mediation stuff I'm doing, there's not even a way to learn that. You just gotta get trained because nobody has access to it except companies that use it. And honestly, when you're in college specifically, you gotta, as a kid who's going to get a job, you gotta look into what you want to do and teach yourself, because there's so many different things. You can't just get a degree and learn Java and go out there and expect to get a job. You got to know your way around. You got to build some stuff. You got to do some research. Finding a job is a full-time job if you want to be a software engineer.
Really? Wow, wow, wow. Is it rewarding?
So far, I like it. Yeah, I get to write some code. I really like it when stuff works, and I did it. That's cool.
Absolutely.
I don't like it when stuff doesn't work because my weekends get stolen sometimes. But I think that's the case with most jobs. If you mess something up, you got to fix it. But yeah, I really like to write code and develop and build stuff. That's not the case for everybody, but I find it really enjoyable. So yeah, I think it's very rewarding.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I want you to give some advice. What advice do you want to give to youngsters who might come across this channel, this interview?
Well, stay in school, pay attention in class. That's number one. The biggest thing you can do for yourself is just getting out of high school, and even if you don't want to go to college, get out of high school, get it done, pay attention, learn everything you can, because it's only going to get busier from there. If you want to go to college, I don't have a ton of advice for anything outside of being a computer science major, but you're not going to learn everything you're going to learn in college. I had to teach most of the stuff that I actually use to myself outside of class. They're going to teach you theories and some basics that you can apply kind of everywhere, but they're not going to teach you, here's how you go into a server and access a database. Here's how you build a website. You're not going to learn any of that in college. You got to teach yourself that. And that's a big thing. Always be learning would be my biggest thing, is especially in tech. The landscape shifts dramatically every couple of years. And you could be an expert in a field that's highly sought after, and 3 years later, nobody's looking for you anymore. So you just got to be on your toes, keep your ear to the ground, make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're always ready to learn.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. And so what does the future, what does the future have in store for you professionally, UIL involvement?
Well, professionally, I'm just getting started, so I'm not 100% sure. I like what I'm doing, but I'm always looking for opportunities. I like writing code, so whatever I can do to keep doing that, I'm gonna do. A lot of people professionally, they want to do what I'm doing, be the grunt work for a while, and then move into management, right? And I want no part of that. I like what I'm doing. I like writing code. If I can stay at this level always, that'd be great for me. This is what I like to do. In terms of UIL involvement, I plan to be involved until they get rid of me. I'm having fun. I like doing it, and like I said, it's nice to know that at least I think I'm helping kids on the other end of the table. So I'd like to keep doing that for as long as I can.
Papa must be proud.
I think he is. I hope so.
Yes, exactly. I run across him every so often at some of these tournaments you're talking about. Mm-hmm. He's always a gentleman. I enjoy talking to him immensely, man. I enjoy talking to him immensely. Awesome, awesome. So as we conclude this interview, are there any final thoughts, concluding remarks that you'd like to make?
Not a ton. Here's what I'll say in terms of people competing: learn dynamic programming if you don't know it already. I really like that. One of the other writers really likes that, and we already threw a bunch of that at you the last couple of years. That's only going to tick up because that's what you see a lot of in technical interviews. That stuff is huge everywhere.
Dynamic programming?
Dynamic programming.
Can you define that for me?
It's kind of broad, but it's more of it's breaking a problem down into sub-problems and then solving the sub-problems individually. Oh. And so it's like instead of doing a giant recursive stack to solve a problem, you build an array and keep track of stuff, and it takes half the time, which is what the world is moving towards. And in terms of time complexity, limiting that's super useful in real work too.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Mr. Samuel, I can't thank you enough. You've been so gracious with your time. Thank you for the insight into computer science. So it's going to get harder this year.
Yes, I will try to make it as hard as I can. Get ready.
So we're not going to have all these ties at stake.
I hope not. No, not if I did my job.
Hey, let me applaud what you do. What you do is beautiful. There are so many kids across the state with passion for computer science. And because of the efforts of people like you, they get to showcase their skill in this platform. So thank you very much. Mr. Sam, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And when I see your father, I'm going to shake his hand at these local tournaments.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, take care, okay? Be good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, what wonderful insight from Mr. Samuel Armstrong, UIL Computer Science writer and UIL Computer Science contest director. He gave us some wonderful, magnificent insight into the software engineering profession and into the UIL Computer Science contest. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Armstrong. I appreciate it. Let me take a quick moment and ask that if you enjoy this content, that you please hit the subscription button, leave a comment below, and smash that like button. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Help me spread this joy, help me spread this beauty to as many people as possible. I have plenty of wonderful things in store for this channel, and I truly appreciate your support. My name is Saul Kandu, and this is Texas Math Mundo. Farewell, farewell.